Alright guys, this is going to be a short one. None of you guys have signed up for Google Classroom yet. So I'm just going to briefly go over Tarawa here, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do from this point on, since we're not back in school until May 15th. Just trying to figure out how you guys want to go about all this. So check out Google Classroom if you haven't, Great American. And so the Battle of Tarawa is going to come after Guadalcanal. There's going to be a respite for the 1st Marine Division in Australia. Then we're going to go up to New Britain, some other battles, and we're moving into what is the little atoll of Tarawa. And it's meant again to allow our B-29s, brand new long-range, long-distance bombers, to get closer to the home islands of Japan. Japanese Admiral Shibasaki is the commander of the Imperial Naval Guard. Just a little recap from yesterday. Some of the best troops that Japan had left. And because things worked so well on one island with the bombardment, we decided in a brilliant sort of way that in the second little atoll we weren't going to bomb it for 4 days. And so as the Marines started, if you remember from yesterday, I had the rifle up above my head as the homage. The little green plastic army man is the homage to the Marines here at Tarawa. Soldiers are getting out of their amphibious tractors, out of their landing craft, and wading through water nearly up to their necks. And the commander, Marine General Holland, called Howlin' Mad Smith, says that it was just the khaki shirts that his soldiers were wearing that were their armor that day. They were walking into just a perfectly precision, timed and camouflage set of Japanese pillboxes. The Japanese had everything pre-sighted, they were dug in, they were camouflaged. The light is blinding me. And as the Japanese artillery begins to fall, the Navy ships themselves were forced to back off farther off the beach. So once again, it's the Marines on their own. And you can see what Private Robert Radar said. Being in the tractor and the landing craft was just as dangerous as being in the water. So off they go. 20%, 1 in 5, never make it out of the water. They get to come full force into Japanese fixed, prepared defenses. The Japanese are switching their doctrine from offensive to defensive. We are going to hold what you have. And the losses here are going to be dramatic. The Marines have to use grenades. They get up on shore, and right away, just off the beach, they're met by a Japanese Nabu machine gun fire. So they got to flatten out on their stomachs. And they find out these machine gun pits were dug in either out of the coral of the atoll or in concrete, and you couldn't see them. There was only a small firing slit to shoot from a very small target picture for a Marine to fire back. And so they had to use what's called a satchel charge. Think of like a large purse, or like Chewbacca's bag he wears in Star Wars, filled with plastic explosives. You had to go up, pull a little timer cord, and then throw this thing into the slot. Now this was heavy explosive. It was made through blowing up barricades and obstacles. But the problem is, to use a satchel charge, you have to get close. And that brings up the legendary Marine Staff Sergeant William Bordlin, who was a combat engineer. His job is to go in with the frontline troops and help clear these obstacles. Well, his amphibious tractor gets shot up, and most of his guys are wounded or dying. So with just pure selflessness, Staff Sergeant Bordlin grabs some satchel charges, and seal crawling on his stomach, he gets close enough, laying on his stomach, to pop up when the machine gun isn't firing and throw them in there. He gets one pillbox. He moves on, and he's going for the second one. This time he's on his back, and as he begins to rise up and throw it, his hand gets hit. That explosion goes off, and he gets the second pillbox. Now, even though he's wounded and he's drawing machine gun fire from all sides, he takes out a third pillbox, goes back, checks on his men, puts together another satchel of explosives because he was out, and he goes out and takes a fourth pillbox, single-handedly destroying these pillboxes by himself. He eventually succumbs to his wounds, but Staff Sergeant William Bordelon, guy from Texas, takes out these 4 boxes and is given the Congressional Medal of Honor as he begins to get a small bubble of safety to show the men this is what you have to do to move inland. And behind them, wave upon wave of Marine, that second wave of Marine is coming ashore. And they're bottled up. You got to move inland to make rooms for the guys on the beach. By noon and throughout the afternoon, the Marines only have 20 feet of beach to work with. They got to get out of the water, off the beach, and inland on Guadalcanal. But slowly and ever so surely, reinforcements begin to arrive. And then about 5 p.m. in the afternoon, the guys begin to make progress. And as they get off the beach, they leave, 5,000 soldiers have made it. They leave about half that many wounded, either on the beach or back in the water. An enormous cost of lives to get on to Tarawa. And as the soldiers and Marines, or the Marines rather, creep inland, they get through these coconut groves and they see the camouflage that the Japanese have. Some of them are real guns and some of them are dummies. And to get the Japanese out, because they're underground, they're in the tunnels, they have those like submarine hatches, a new weapon is brought in to root and ferret out the Japanese from their cave system. It's known as the flamethrower. The flamethrower is a dangerous, nasty weapon where you've got compressed gas and like a gelatin, right? like a napalm, like a Greek fire, that's blown about 25 feet, 2,500, 3,000 degrees, 25 feet the spurt of fire goes, and whatever it lands on, it just cooks. However, you got to be the guy brave enough to strap on a flamethrower, because instantly you're going to be a target. And if any of the chemical mixture gets hit, there's going to be an explosion for at least 60 feet. So we're going to go in with flamethrowers now. And the heroic flamethrower men, as they go cave to cave and pillbox to pillbox, it cost another 1,500 American casualties. Good thing for the United States Marines is the Japanese absorbed this impact. They're not quite sure what to do right away, and thank goodness they don't counterattack or banzai charge right away. While we were still reeling and on that beach of only a 20-foot wide swath, could have been shoved right back into the water. But during the night, under the cover of night, United States artillery pieces are brought in. Cannons, so to speak. And the cannons are going to go to work. Here, down here in the corner, is a Marine flamethrower. It's a very short kind of wand. Think of like a pressure washer, shooting this compressed gas and flame, just charring and burning everything near it. It was a nasty, nasty close-in weapon, but it was necessary here in places like Tarawa. So by the 21st of November, the landings are again, as reinforcements come in, are met with heavy Japanese fire. But now that we've got the artillery cannons on the ground, we can begin more direct fire. We're not relying on the Navy or satchel charges or M1s. We can target and pre-sight to heavy its resistance. And slowly it's the American artillery where the battle slowly begins to shift. And again, this island is tiny. We thought it would be mopped up in no time. But it takes 2 more days of violent, heavy fighting to secure the Tarawa Atoll. In the fighting, these last 2 days, 1,000 soldiers are lost each day. So we're looking at near 4,500 guys die in just a few days' time. And if you look at it ratio-wise, proportionally, this is one of the nastiest, bloodiest encounters of World War II. And, you know, it takes time for Richard Tregaskis's Guadalcanal Diary to come out. But this battle here, even though we won, begins to wake America up to what the war in the Pacific is really going to be like. Despite our enormous strength in material, despite our overwhelming numbers of men, the Japanese are tenacious soldiers. They're dug in, they're waiting for us. We can't go around every single one of them. So we're going to go on to places like, you know, Peleliu and Saipan and Okinawa, eventually, you know, the Philippines and Iwo Jima. It's going to be nasty. This is not going to be an easy, quick victory. Yes, the Japanese have lost their offensive punch, but man, they are tenacious defenders. And so people begin talking about, you know, even a little bit after Guadalcanal, as Tarawa as being like the Civil War Battle of Shiloh, the first really big clash that has a high casualty rate. You remember the comments said about Grant after Shiloh. It really wakes everybody up. This is what it's going to be like. And also we now see inter-service rivalry. General Douglas MacArthur and his army has one idea of how to win the war in the Pacific. He wants to go straight to Japan, going through the Philippines. He promised his men he would return. He wants to go straight ahead through the Philippines. But Admiral Nimitz says no. Frontal assaults just aren't going to work. We've got to plan them. We've got to rehearse them. We've got to figure out what works. We've got to adapt. We just can't go full go, George Patton. That's not going to work. And Nimitz wants to go on a wider arc, more island hopping, and attack Japan from a different angle. So the problem with this is not only are we going to have an Army-Navy inter-service rivalry, we're going to have MacArthur and Nimitz vying for their having the best plan of attack, but it's also a quest for supplies. Who gets them, the Army or the Navy? And Nimitz's idea is, well, the Army can't get there unless my boats take you. And so President Roosevelt is going to play Switzerland. He's not going to back either one of his men. That way, whichever one is successful, he can say, hey, I was with you, Nimitz, or I was with you, MacArthur. But Tarawa is now done. And we're going to switch from here to go to Italy. The invasion of Italy after Sicily had happened in the summertime. And everyone, you know, 1943 thought it would be over by Thanksgiving. Well, it's November 21st in the Pacific. Tomorrow we're going to look at what November 21st was like in the Italian theater as we invade mainland Italy. I know this is a short one today, but every now and then, I guess we all need a little break, and hopefully you guys will start watching these things. All right, we're out.